All right, Cory, thank you for joining us for an episode on my podcast, which called "I haven't told about this deal in America." I haven't told about this deal in America, which is about inspiring people on a journey. It's more not about the deal specific. It's more about inspiring people that everybody can do it. Actually, that's kind of the why I did this podcast. And usually I interview students, to be frank. And the reason I do it because I think people want to see people like them that have done it, so they can. Um, I hear myself on an echo. Do you see? Do you hear me on
Echo?
echo? Yeah. Oh, now.
Is that good?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but once in a while, I interview people from in the state to share the story and to show them that even if you have done a lot of deals, you're still a human being. So everybody knows that you can do it, right?
That's correct.
Um,
Yes.
yeah. So, Cory, maybe you start by sharing like who you are, right? Give me your your track record or who you are. Then we will start from the beginning.
Sure. No problem. So I appreciate you having me on here. And I am across the pond in the United States
Yeah.
and in Oklahoma. My wife and I have been together for 11 years. Have been married for going on 6 in January. I have 2 kids. And one is studying to be a cardiologist. The other one's studying to be a dermatologist. One is at Oklahoma City University and go Sooners. And then Washington is the other one. So YU. So I've been involved with real estate investing for going on almost 20 years now. I'm 47 years old. I bought my first house when I was 21 years old. And I started out like many other investors that I know. I started out being a bird dog, where, you know, or a house finder, if you want to put it a softer term,
Yeah.
where we would go out and I would find a property that was run down. Usually here in the States, a lot of weeds, looks really junky. No one was really paying attention to the house. Usually it would be an absentee owner, someone that doesn't live in the property, that doesn't live in the same state. So they weren't caring about the house. They typically had it rented out and then someone moved out or they didn't know they moved out. So I started out being a bird dog and would make a little money from that. Then I moved to wholesaling, where we do have a pretty active wholesaling operation even to this day, where effectively we would go wholesaling is in real estate where you put a contract on a property to buy it, let's say for 100,000, and you find somebody else that will buy it for 150,000, and you sell them your contract that you're going to buy for 100,000 for $50,000, and you get paid at escrow closing. So I did that for a while, and we still have an operation doing that. Then I started a fix and flip company, and that was miserable for me. I really did not enjoy that at all. Where you fix something up and make it look pretty, and then turn around and resell it. I didn't enjoy the process whatsoever. I didn't enjoy the management process. And so I was in that business for about 2 years and shut it down quickly. Then in about 2000, fast forward about 2007, 8, 9, I got involved with short sales. And short sales is when you agree to accept a lender, a bank would agree to accept less than what's owed on underlying debt, meaning that if someone had a $200,000 loan with the bank, I would go directly to the bank and make an offer, let's say for $100,000, and the bank may or may not accept that offer. But if they did, then that would be a short sale. And so I got very proficient and well versed in short sales. And I really went deeper into that business because I found a lot of success at it. I started a consulting firm for short sales. I had a software company that had 5,000 users, paying $97 a month.
Can I hold you for a second, Cory? Because you run the story, and I kind of find some opportunities to maybe dive in about short sales and for people.
Perfect.
So why a bank will why well, I know the answer, but for people, why the bank will accept a lower than what the seller owe them?
Well, we're not doing short sales now, but when we did them, it was a different time, and it was a time where we had our first big real estate recession, and effectively the banks would agree to accept less than what's owed on the debt because they had to take these properties back in-house. And many of these lenders, and many of them that went under now, went bankrupt, they did not want to take these properties back in-house. They did not have the ability to manage these properties. And so when they realized they had to take these properties back in-house, they'd have to consider the expenses that would come with that. For example, someone owes $200,000 on a property to a bank, and I made an offer for $100,000. The question would be, why would a bank take $100,000 on $200,000 that's owed? And one of the reasons is the bank, when they loan out that $200,000, that uses up about 4 to 5 times their credit line. So whenever they have $200,000 loaned out, they are using up $800,000 to $1 million of their credit line. Imagine it like a back-end reserve for insurance purposes. So that's a pretty significant amount of money that they could do something else with if they just got that off their books. The other reason is whenever there's assets that are called non-performing assets for a lending company, for mortgage companies, that looks bad on their credit rating. It hurts their ability to be able to get more credit whenever they're reviewed, usually on a quarterly or a semi-annually basis. So that's another reason. Another reason is the expenses that come with managing these properties. So who lived in the property? Did they tear it up? Did they have broken windows? Was it secured? What location is it in? Did it rain? Did it around storms, and etc.? So all of the elements of weather and the nature of elements come into play. And then whenever you take it back, you have to list it with an REO agent. I'm sure you've heard of bank-owned properties or REO properties. So that's what these are bank-owned properties. Whenever they agree to take these things back in, now they got to pay an agent to in order to sell these properties. So it might take them anywhere from 3 months to longer to be able to sell these properties. And because they're not in perfect shape, because they're usually beat up pretty well, not all of them, but a lot of them are, then the real estate agent might list a property for $160. A $200,000 owed to the bank, they might have to list it for $160. Now they're going to have to pay the agent another 6%, the buying agent, selling agent. So now you got another 10 grand off that, and then they're going to probably ask for concessions and everything else. So at the end of the day, the bank might net 130, which would seem higher than which is higher than 100. However, they have to wait on it, and it's not guaranteed. And so they just my guaranteed offer right now, and maybe they won't accept in this example 100, but maybe they would accept 115 or 120, right? That's still a pretty significant discount for them to be able to take it. And that's some of the reasons of why the bank would agree to accept a short sale.
Okay. I remember, by the way, I did some short sale back in 2010 to 2012. But I always got it through an agent, from an agent that I know. And I remember remember that I always wanted to be able to get to those REO brokers.
Yes.
And everybody wanted to be their friends,
Everybody
right?
wanted to be their
They
friend.
didn't care.
That's right.
So how did you get up? Really, I'm curious. How did you do it? How did you reach out to the bank directly and not go through the REO? You talk with the seller and the seller gave you a number, or how did you do it?
So we created, I really went deep into the research of short sales. At the time, there was not many people doing them. And so I decided I was going to focus on that one area of real estate investing. And when I realized that there were several mortgage companies and institutions that have different sets of documents that they require in order to even consider a short sale. And once I understood what those documents were and how to get those documents, which you ask the lender to give those documents to you, and then you have to get the homeowner to agree to working with you through this process. And the reason that a homeowner would agree to do that is because if you can get the property sold whenever they're basically underwater on the property, and they had no equity in these properties, then it would not have a completed foreclosure on their credit. It would have a paid as agreed on their credit, which looks significantly better for someone that wants to go get a new property. So that's why the owner would feel compelled to do it. And sometimes we just pay the owner $5,000, $10,000, $3,000, whatever, sometimes just to, if it made sense and they needed a little moving money or they made a little incentive to, they were broke for some reason, we would just pay them in order to do these deals if it made sense. So once I really started to understand this process, I started to systemize it and put together many documents for different banks. And we were doing this by hand at first. We had a small team that was doing it by hand. And then I ran into one of my then business partners that had a technology firm that systemized certain documents for another company that wasn't in short sales. But I realized that we could create a process that would be systemized for working with banks. And so we looked at the top banks. I looked at the top 20 banks. We narrowed down to the top 5 that we thought that we're going to get a lot of business from. And we created an API that was a technology bridge effectively for faxing documents over to the bank. And effectively we were able to get our short sale documents to the top of the pack because they were perfect. They were exactly what the lenders wanted. And so they took ours that was just low hanging fruit. And I realized later that the people that are working at the mortgage company, they were called loss mitigation company or loss mitigators. You probably heard that term, a loss mitigation department or a default department, similar and same. So we realized that those agents that work there get paid a bonus for every one of those deals that they successfully complete. And so we just,
everybody has motivation to do the deal.
People had motivation to do the deal. We made it really easy. And at the time, it was a disaster when everybody else was trying to do these short sales. They would leave out documents. They had to wait weeks sometimes to put the package together. And just imagine an incomplete package stacked up. And
it was kind of a secret. I remember I was
crazy.
Just starting in America, doing it was a secret. I was trying to figure this out. This was hard.
Yes, it was. So when we figured out the technology piece, that gave us leverage and speed. And we're able to scale very quickly once we did that.
All right. So how many deals a month you were doing? And you were flipping it? They were buying it to flip it?
We had usually anywhere from 50 to 100 short sales in the hopper at any given time. Some of those deals were our own deals, and then we had a consulting firm. So we had lots of other people bringing deals to us where we would take a consulting fee in order to get the deal approved. And once we got the deal approved, we'd hand it back over to the client and they would, finish out the closing.
You find your niche. You were on top of the world. You were making a lot of money in this process because nobody knew how to do it
That's
this
correct.
way. And so what happened after that?
So
you were like, how was your life look like? Because you're on top of the world. Right.
Top of the world, we had a $300,000 US a month coming in, $300,000 to $500,000 a month coming in. We gave away a bunch of free accounts to people at the time, but $300,000 to $500,000 a month coming in from just our short sale our software business. We had my courses. So I sold over 2,500 short sale courses on top of this. That I was speaking at different events and different real estate seminars. And basically at that moment, real estate and internet were just kind of getting started. So actually seeing real estate events and seeing real estate done through the internet was just kind of catching on a little bit. So it hasn't been that long since, this really, happened, maybe, 15 years ago, something, but at the end of the day, I was doing what I felt like, doing really well. I was obviously, 15 years younger. You feel like you're kind of on top of the world at, what would that be, 32. And I was recently married as well. And so I was in, you know, I was recently married. So I was traveling a lot. And I also had this pretty quick business that was formed with my then business partner on the software side. So I had not done software before, and I was just very proficient at doing the marketing and building, getting sales, and you know, focusing on that area versus he was doing the back end on the software. And so, you know, we formed this pretty quick company, and I didn't get a chance to really vet this guy out and really see what he was about prior. I mean, we just kind of, we met each other. We really hit it off well. We kept in touch for about 6 months prior. Then I came to him and said, hey, what do you think about this? So I really hadn't known the guy that long. And, you know, the bottom line is my wife asked for a divorce because I was traveling too much. And, you know, that led to infidelity. You know, I basically came home one day and realized that, you know, she was shacked up with another guy that she known before she married to me. And then my business partner and I also went through a business divorce because effectively over money. We didn't see eye to eye on how to make that work in a way that was fair to all the folks that we had, the overhead that we had, the amount of travel that was going on, the amount of everything that had to be done in order to make these relationships. And so it was a frustrating point there.
It happened at the same time. It was like at the same time, exactly.
It was really around about a year from each other. It's about maybe about a year and a half from each other. My wife has to.
How was you? Yeah, like one of the reason I asked your inspiration stories because we said that it's because in our country, people are in a low mood, and I was trying to help them, give them some inspiration, so they and I thought about your story and you. I really appreciate you come and do that. And but how was your mood? How were you? Like, do you like?
Man, I felt like I wanted to die. I really did. I felt like I wanted to just die. You know, my person that I loved and really never even thought in a million years I'd get a divorce from was, now in a relationship with somebody else. And that was just absolutely killing me. And then on top of that, I had to cancel different things to deal with that. My business partner, I went into immediately a legal dispute with him. That was an immediate $10,000 retainer that went on for well over a year. So that was expensive. And I just had a lot of, some days it's like you climb the ladder and you're continuing to climb. And as you go up, Rafi, you can see things from a distance. You can kind of see things from a new perspective. You get altitude from it. And it gives you great perspective because things don't look as, intense when you're down in the weeds and you can't really see things. When you get above it, you kind of get this chance of you get this sense of control almost. And then you miss one or two steps and you fall all the way down to the ground. And, this was one of those times where I just felt like I fell face first all the way down to the ground. All this effort, everything that's been done was just being destroyed all around me. And, I had to get the first time my mind was just really, really messed up. And I didn't really know what to do. My attorney was telling me that I should file bankruptcy, that my wife was entitled to half of this and that and all this, and she's going to fight and, all of that stuff. And I didn't file bankruptcy, but that was one of the things that came on the table. And, my business was falling apart right before my eyes. My business accounts that we had were jointly with my business partner. And, there was changes made there where money couldn't come out, and then assets were froze. And it was really a very intense time in my life. And I really just felt like I wanted to die, man. I mean, that's really what it came down to. I just man, it'd be much better just to be dead right now than to have to deal with this stuff. But, I think so my mentor told me something a long time ago that And I'll tell you the story. I went into my banker that also been through a divorce, and I had my head down. I was feeling like the worst. I was just like, there was just like, he could tell that I had like almost an anchor on my neck, just leaning down. And he said, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, just rough day. He goes, "Rough day at the office." And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'll tell you what, when I went through some things in my life, somebody told me something. I'll give you that advice now. You want it?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" He goes, "Put down the hammer." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "The hammer you keep beating the shit out of yourself with."
Yeah.
And I kind of look up at him and smile, and I kind of go, yeah. He's like, "Here's the thing." He's like, "You're going to go through things in life. You're going to, experience things, but you're going to get, if you just don't stop, you're going to get through it." And he goes, "Everybody needs to eat a shit sandwich." He goes, "The key is don't nibble." And I just remember laughing. He got me to laugh, and I said, "Yeah, that's pretty good advice." And then one of my other mentors told me, he said, "Whenever you go through a time in your life that's painful, it hurts for you, it sucks for you, but fantastic for Tylenol." So
For
be
who? Sorry.
for Tylenol. So whenever you have a headache,
Yeah.
fantastic for Tylenol, bad for you.
Yeah.
And basically helping me think about the other side of it, the other perspective of it, right? And what I realized was, looking back on it now, Rafi, is that whenever you go through painful situations in your life, and this has been my experience, this is some of the best lessons that you can learn. They teach you a lot. If you're able to ask yourself, how can I learn from this situation? It can teach you a lot of different things. It can teach you how to survive. It can teach you about persistence. It can teach you about, continuing on in the fight, getting your mind right, getting stronger mentally. It can teach you how to look at things from a different perspective. There's a lot of fantastic lessons that pain can teach you. And I just had to change my thought process of, instead of this thing going to kill me, what if I said that it would empower me?
Yeah.
So that was the big change, in my life. I had to find something, and I was praying, man. I was asking God, just like, "Lord, help me find something to grab onto that's positive, in my life."
Did you find about your cancer, the cancer you had was
Yeah,
before you said, "I got to find a way," or
it was
after that?
no,
Or
it
you
was
said, "I'm going to
before.
do it," and then you find out about cancer because
So I start getting through a lot of the business divorce and kind of getting through my divorce personally. And in 2012, I got diagnosed with thyroid carcinoma cancer.
yeah.
I was on a vacation in Hawaii with my friend, and we booked the whole event, excursion, prepaid all these different things. And I had to cancel all of it and fly home early. And that really just rocked my world. That was the next level of pain. That was the next level of low that I had to figure out a way to get through.
And how did you do it? Like,
I asked God to give me strength because I had none. And I just started studying about what this carcinoma is. A lot of times whenever you hear something, you just get so freaked out about it. But there's a lot of stuff that if you dig in yourself and research, that you find after, that you find that some of the things that people say aren't necessarily the truth. You're not going to die tomorrow, that kind of thing. So I had to research this, and I realized that there was actually very good surgeons for this around my area, and I needed to book one of those surgeons. And I learned, I started changing the way I eat different foods, and just kind of changed the way that I had to exercise and things like that. But the biggest thing was I had to cancel my speaking gigs because I couldn't talk. So I knew when I go through my surgery, I couldn't talk for 3 to 6 months effectively. You can actually talk after about 3 months, but then you really should let it rest. So I had to like basically put my consulting business and things on hold, and that was a big revenue hit because I was starting another business, which is the wholesaling operation business, and it was a pretty it was a very scary time as well. Different kind of scare though. It's almost like this one was a good scare in a sense of like, okay, you're coming to grips that you may potentially, got sentenced a death sentence, you've been told a death sentence. So now what's really important in life? And so for me, I had to get very clear on what really is important in life. And that really helped me do that. I wasn't spending time with my mother, which is now 80 years old. I wasn't spending a lot of time with her. And so I had a lot of regrets that if I died and not doing that, I'd have a lot of regrets. So I started thinking about all the things that I'd have regrets over. And I started making those changes, those pivots on being intentional to spend time and making those things important. And so it really gave me a new awareness and woke me up to the things that were crucial in life.
And you became very grateful for what you have.
Extremely grateful. I wrote down, every day a reason to be grateful, because I was just feeling down and I was trying to find something to give me a lift up. And so I started that thing called the Grateful Project, which was just me just posting every day, just a reason to be grateful. And then it started to catch on fire. More people started to watch, to follow it. And that's been revolutionary. That's just been absolutely amazing.
Ever since you're doing it every day, do you start your day with grateful, or at the end of the day?
I do it whenever I feel compelled that the Lord kind of gives me something to share. And so, I really don't have one of those systematic ways with this thing. It's not really, it's kind of a thing that just kind of unfolds. Like today is day 2979. And today I was just looking at some old photographs and I just said, I'm grateful for old photographs. Yeah. And I kind of have a little mini, kind of a team that helps me on the pictures and stuff, but we just post a reason to be grateful daily. And, it's just been one of those things that's just been amazing because the consistency of it, other people have started, doing this as well. And, we also have some big things in the works that I've been working on for years, like a mobile app that would basically allow people to, have incentives to post on reasons to be grateful. But it's been a very exciting, that part of it's been very exciting, and it really did wake me up to gratitude.
Yeah. And once you get out from rock bottom, you rely on the things you are grateful and what importance in life, and it's also make you stronger to trust yourself that you can keep going, right? Whatever happens, you will be able to keep going because you got through that, right? So
I had this affirmation that I say daily in the shower about 100 times in the morning. When I get up and take a shower, I say, my worst day is someone else's paradise. I say that over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it's in me, it's in my soul now that, whatever I go through in life, somebody else would trade my worst day for their paradise. And that gives me a chance to be grounded. And, there's so many things that we take for granted. And you see it daily, whether it's somebody that's walking with one leg or missing an arm or deformities in different ways, or mentally challenged, or whatever it is. And you see that person and you go, wow, and they might still have a smile on their face, or they're still enjoying things. You're like, how are they getting through life with these things that I just take for granted on a daily basis?
Yeah.
Or you just see horrible situations. And I sometimes, I think I use these things I see like that I'm reflective over. And I'm just so grateful that even though I go through different things in my life, that, you know, to keep that sense of awareness, to keep that sense of a grounding that, you know, yes, things are tough right now, but they could be so much worse.
I agree with that. So, and how did you, so you started to, you know, how did you find your strengths to, no, it's not the question, is, you know, and that's what I see in the mood with people. They don't have they want to start doing it, but it's like, it's very hard to go back to do 100% power on doing actions, like to be active. It's like, you can't just, okay, like any other, even if you're grateful, okay, I will, you know, make a lot of calls. You can't have that energy. So
Right.
what do you do in order to do that? How do you wake up in the morning and put yourself back to being active besides being grateful?
I would do it regardless how I felt. I'd say, I don't feel good, but do it anyway. I started to look at things I had to get over. I had two choices in life, and this is important. This is a great thing to always remember. You have two choices in life, just two: flex or fold. That's it.
Flex.
That's it. Every day you're presented with opportunities to flex, get stronger, mentally stronger, you know, build things up, or fold, you know, cower, fold down, be defeated, walk around as a victim. Oh, well, all these things happening to me in my life, that this is why I'm not succeeding, because of this, because of this, because of this. I started to look at things in a different light. I started looking things, instead of the world working, you know, and the universe working against me, it was working for me. There was a bigger purpose. There was a bigger reason that these things were happening. I wasn't aware of what it was at the moment, but I trusted God knew a bigger picture for my life, and he wanted me to accomplish things. And I asked for that strength. I had to pray and ask. I said, man, just, Lord, show me, direct me, give me the strength. And that's the biggest thing, man, is that you got to ask for strength. I used to think that asking for anything made me a weak person. I used to think that requesting or reaching out for help made me a weak person. That was a weak mental attitude. All the best and most successful people in life all ask for help. All of them do. Every single one of them, the most proficient people that do the biggest things in life, they all have coaches. They always are asking for help. They're always asking for feedback for different things. And, you know, I just started to look at things in a different way. So I just would feel the pain and feel the resistance, Rafi, and do it anyway. I would feel that, whatever that was stopping me, and I didn't want to do it. And I knew that it's going to be tough and it's going to be hard. And I would feel it, and I'd say, okay, I understand that. And I feel that. And I'm aware of that emotion. I'm aware of that feeling, but now I got to overcome it. So how do I overcome the thing that I'm feeling so rough about? Right. You know, and so I just broke things down logically like that, and I would just overcome and do it. And you don't have to take 5 steps a day, Rafi. Sometimes it's just inches, and some days it's miles. And really just comes down to how you are thinking about the thing that you want to do, and you want to accomplish it. And then you got to get clear on your why. You got to ask, you know, why do I want to get out of bed to do this? Why do I want to accomplish this thing? Why is that thing important to me? What's so great about that number, or that key, that benchmark, or that goal, or whatever it is? Why do I want to do these things? You know, what's my big why behind that? And that'll drive you more than the what. The what is just mechanical. The why is really going to get something deeper in you. Maybe it's for your kids. Maybe you know you need to provide something for your kids. You know, maybe it's because you know down deep that you're going to regret so much things in life that if you don't do this, maybe you feel like you don't have many years left in your life, and you're like, I got to go do something. I need to accomplish something. You know, you got to get really clear on your why. Maybe it is you want freedom in life to go and travel where you want. Maybe you're working at a job and you want to get away from that and you want to experience things. Maybe it's just as simple as you want to buy a few things in life, a new house, a new car, a new watch, a new whatever it is, these little drivers that help with the motivation. But you got to get clear on the why that you want to do something.
Got it. Agree. I actually agree. So so go back to active. So you started you said you already knew how to do wholesaling, right? So you said you're going to do wholesaling. What was your vision? What you wanted to achieve? Like,
well, I knew that short sale business was getting very difficult, and I also knew speaking was out of the ballpark because I couldn't go do that. I had to basically be in bed. So I was figuring out what could I do in bed and figure out ways to do business and make money from that. And wholesaling was always the low hanging fruit. And so I just started focusing on, where can I find the best motivated leads for people that would want to sell at a price that I knew that I could resell that property for and make money. And then I started focusing more on the marketing aspect of it, which is something I've always enjoyed. And then we started to build a small local team in Oklahoma City. And we started to do a few deals, and then we started to expand and bring on some more acquisition managers and disposition managers, some transaction coordinators, some data people. And we just started to expand a little bit more. And I realized that I could do this business, relatively anywhere in the world. As long as I had a laptop and a phone, I could relatively be able to get things done that I know I needed to through those two pieces of equipment.
Okay, so how far you took the wholesaling business? How many deals a year? Give some inspiration from that moment. How many deals? Or
so when we started out in probably 2013 into 2013, going on 2014, I was doing maybe that first year I did maybe 15 deals that first year. Second year we doubled up and did 30. Next year we doubled up and did 60. Next year we doubled up and did 90. And we just kept doubling. And today we're doing over 100 deals a year in over 30 different states. So at that point we were just in Oklahoma. We expanded in 2019 during the COVID. We started to do virtual wholesaling, which is across the country. And so now we're closing deals all over the country.
Yeah. Did you do everything by yourself?
No, I didn't. Whenever I was starting, I did. Whenever I was starting, I did. But whenever I obviously wanted to expand and get some leverage, you have to build a team. You have to bring other people along with you. Business is a community. It's a team sport. It really is. You got to have a good team that is going to help you get to the next level. Now there are different levels. Okay. There's different levels. When you're just starting out, you are the person that is the salesperson, the disposition manager, the transaction coordinator, the marketer, you're doing the data, you're doing all of it. Okay. And then once you start to make a little bit of money, you start to realize I could use some of those proceeds to effectively pay somebody else to do the stuff that I know that's not making the company the most money, sending out mail, doing the data entry, doing crunching on the data, talking, just all the little stuff, talking to the title company, or like these things are important, but they're not like pushing the needle. I could focus on getting somebody else to focus on these other admin tasks and data tasks and, tasks like that. And I could focus on what's really moving the needle. And that's finding the most motivated sellers that want to sell as quickly as possible. And then getting those properties tied up in a contract and reselling those properties over to qualified vetted buyers that we could make a spread between those two, what we bought it for and what we sold it for, and then taking our cash flow cycle and crunching it as much as we possibly can together. Those are the things that really start to move the needle. And more I could focus on those activities, which I would say are buying activities, buying decisions, or purchase activities, or revenue generating activities, then I started to grow the company.
Okay. And when you say a team, it was employees or it was partners? Because
it was both. So we brought on independent contractors.
And before you answer, sorry, Cory, before you answer, I remember you had a partner, right? A business partner, and you kind of have he screw you or whatever. It was a dispute. It's hard because my first partner kind of wasn't good as well. And, you have a scar. It's very hard after that to start, building a relationship with partners. You want to do everything by yourself. So how did you, if you work with a partner, how did you overcome it?
I joint ventured with some folks that wanted to, do some deals together. I did not bring on a quote, another partner. So I 1099 our contractors, all of them in the beginning, and then we eventually moved to hiring employees on salaries. But yeah, I would not to this day, I don't want to partner with, I don't want to bring a partner in where we're 50-50 partners on a business. I will joint venture with someone else that has their own company, and I have my own company, and we'll work together, but we will, if anything happens, we can just walk our separate ways. I don't want to do anything where it's 50-50 partners anymore. It was, for me, that's not something that I felt like worked out.
Okay. All right. What happened when, so wholesaling, over the years became more and more competitive.
Yes.
And
Still is.
And still is. And regulation. What do you do with all the regulation where, you got to register the number? There's all these laws for spam and etc. How do you do that? Because it can or could kill the wholesaling. What do you do with that?
It depends. That's one form of marketing, which you're alluding to, which is, texting people, it's just randomly sending a bunch of texts. Hey, do you want to sell your house? Or cold calling people. Hey, do you want to sell your house? There are a lot of regulations now more than ever coming through on, people spamming each other and spamming these homeowners, and large fees if you're caught with that. Or we focused on inbound marketing, which is people calling us. And so we have pay-per-click, for example, direct mail, on what we call, micro drops, where we find a lot of activity. We'll do a micro drop on direct mail, and pay-per-click marketing, and then for sell by owners as well. And so anyone right now, even if you have $0, you can go in America to Zillow.com. You can go and look at any area that you want to look at. You can go into houses that are for sale, and you can choose for sale by owner.
Right.
And from there, you can go and see the house. You can see the details of the house, and then you can actually see the owner's phone number and their name typically. And they want you to call and give them an offer. And that's free. And the great thing is that those sellers, even though they're asking a lot of whatever their asking price is, it's your job to find out how motivated they are to sell. And it's just like anything else. If you've ever gone on Facebook, or you've ever been in a pawn shop here in the States, when you go in and people are asking a certain price, well, that's what they would love to get. That's the price that they, would love to get. No negotiation, anything. That's what and a lot of times people, as if they're smart, they will they'll ask a little bit more than what they're even expecting to get, because they know that there might be a little negotiation there, right, Rafi?
Yeah.
So the better you are at a negotiator in that regard, if you have that skill set, that can really help you out a lot, because whenever you talk to these for sale by owners, you can find out what is their motivation to sell. Why are they selling? Why are they asking that price? Why not 10,000 higher? Why not 10,000 lower? What repairs are needed on the property? You can ask all these different things. You can start to get into deeper psychology of it, and you can find out what type of personality that person is. So you're not in front of them physically, so you're virtually in front of them on the phone. You have to find out kind of what their personality type is. And so psychologically and scientifically from that, you can figure out what this person's probably going to be most interested in and what they're most likely going to be leaning towards when you say certain words or work with them in a certain way. And you get better at your craft. You get better at just like the more you do it, you get better at your craft. And eventually it might take you 100, it might take you 500, but how bad do you want it? That's what I tell people all the time. How bad do you want it? You not can control everything, but you can control your effort. And I get it. There's a lot of times that you don't feel like it. There's certainly all the things going on in the world, especially in your part of the world. Like, what do you have anything to look forward to? Things are going on, bombs are getting close to you, or what do you have to look forward to? Well, you still got to live. You still got to pursue things. You still got to move forward. You still got to take the things that have been rolled out to you and ask, how can I learn from it? And find some way to have some positive things and move forward from it. My mentor told me that the people always look at the past and they say, oh, the past, and they feel like a victim from it. He said, the only thing the past is good for is taking something that happened in the past and using it for something good in the future. Or you could be like me, like I was beating myself up. And remember, my banker friend told me, put down the hammer. And I didn't know what hammer I was talking about, but Rafi, I was beating the crap out of myself. And I would, there might be some people listening that you're just beating yourself up. Like, you wouldn't even want to be the friend to yourself. If someone talked to you the way you talk to yourself, you wouldn't even want to be your friend. And I was certainly that way. I wouldn't even want to hang out with me or be my friend, because I was telling myself horrible things. I was just beating myself down. I'm worthless. I'm never going to get through this. I'm just going to, this is the end of me. Where do I go from here? I was just beating myself up. But you have the choice. That's what's great. You have the choice. And God would remind me, you got a choice, Cory. You can either flex or fold. And I promise you this, God wants you to flex.
For sure.
It is not in you to fold. It's not in you to fold. If you're listening to another voice, that's not God telling you to fold. God's not telling you to be small. God's not telling you to fold up and be a victim. God's not telling you to sit there and do nothing, to be complacent and not do anything. That's not the voice of God. I realize that. Promise you that. Voice of God's telling you to get up, move forward. I know it hurts. I know it's hard. Get up, take a step, 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, get stronger. And eventually you actually start to believe that this is working. And then eventually you see some results, and lo and behold, I'm married. There's life after divorce.
Yeah.
I got 2 amazing kids, a business that's just been amazing, my team that's amazing, a company culture. None of that I saw 15 years ago, 10, none of that. How can I see any of that? Whenever you're in the ground and you can't, all you can see is the hole. You got to look up. God's telling you to look up, man. Always look up. Try to get altitude, get higher, get above the thing, get above your circumstance.
Amazing, man. Amazing journey. Tell me something. A question that people ask me about wholesaling, and you find a way to do that. The wholesaling changed, right? When a lot of buyers are, want wants opportunity, right? The rates went up, and seller doesn't want to sell, right? Right, because they don't want to move, or they want to move, but they can't really move because of the rate, a new rate. Right. So the wholesaling also changed, right, since the rate went up. So how, if you can give us like, how did it, how it looks like when now it's changed, and what is your solution to that as a wholesaler?
Sure. So you are talking about in the last 3 to 5 years, anybody that got a mortgage, especially during the COVID time, they got mortgages anywhere from 1.5% to 5%. And so, really cheap money that was offered out there. And so why would anybody want to sell their property that has a 3% mortgage whenever they have to now go buy a property that gets a 7% mortgage? So more than double. Some reasons is one, people get into situations they don't have a choice, and their asset is their property, and that might be where they know that's the only place they can tap into money. And yeah, they know they're gonna have to spend more money on another house, or they know they're gonna have to get less of a house for the same amount of money, but they already kind of understanding that that's just a part of where they are and that at their moment in life. And so most of the people that contact us are, and I'll just tell you the market share, less than 5%. Less than 5% of the people that want to sell their property come to people like me, or we buy houses, sell my house quickly. 95% go to real estate agents. So I'm working in 5% of the market share. Okay. But that 5% can still be a pretty big number. But from there, those people, 50% of all homes in America are owned free and clear. 50% of all homes in America. So you're talking about 50% of the time that someone calls us, their house may not have anything owed against it, or 50% of the time they have a great mortgage or whatever it is, but we're looking for the motivation. Why do they want to sell? And when do they want to sell? Why and when do they want to sell? And those two things, we can either be a solution provider for them or direct them in a path where we think that they would be, best served. But most of the time, people that contact us, they are going through a divorce. They are going through some kind of painful situation where they have to be relocated. They have lost the property through a foreclosure or in a process of losing the property. They have inherited the property, and so they don't know what to do with it. The property had caught on fire, and they got an insurance check, and now they're just getting rid of the corpse of the house. They are going through all these different situations. There's probate involved, and there's all these different situations. And once you kind of line out all of the different reasons of why someone would sell, and then you figure out some good reasons of how they potentially may be able to work with you, and then when they want to sell. And the when part is the gap between what the house is worth and what they're willing to take for it. Okay. Yeah. Because someone is willing to accept less for a property whenever they need to sell it faster. And we understand, and we ask them, what does that look like for them? And then we ask them the opposite question. What if they don't sell? What are you going to do if you just had to keep this house? What do you do? We ask them, why don't you just rent it? It sounds like a great house, Rafi. Why don't you just rent it yourself? Why don't you just call a real estate agent? So we push back on purpose. We want all of the objections up front as we possibly can get. And if we get those, then we know that there's not many left if they actually then still want to work with us. And often, the more you push back, Rafi, oftentimes the more people want to work with you.
Okay. And do you still, how do you find your buyers? Do you find your buyers like doing marketing as well? What is your solution for buyers?
We have different software tools that we use to find buyers. And so I can, provide links for those to you if you want me to provide links there. We really have several ways to find buyers. We even have a program called RBP that actually allows us to put the property on the MLS with the owner's consent. We've got ways that we can go into the county website here in the States. You can go into the county of the state of where you're in that you can look at for disclosure states that show who bought the property, what they paid for the property. So we can go do that with data entry, and data folks can go in and do that kind of work, for us and pull that information. We can skip trace, and we can pull in places where there's a lot of buyer activity under a certain dollar amount. Say we only want to see all the cash buyers that paid for properties under $300,000 US in a 100-mile radius of Dallas, Fort Worth area. We can pull all those cash buyers in, and then we can skip trace, find out what their phone number is, make either a direct mail to them or call them, make a connection with them. We can find out what they pay for the house in disclosure states. So there's a lot of ways that we can do it. You can do it free by just going in and researching yourself and calling people that we buy houses on Google, and just make some free relationships there. Or you can get paid softwares like PropStream or FreedomSoft or these other ones that you can use. Audantic's another one. Buyer Sonar is another one. Investor Lift is another one that we really had a lot of success with. Investor Lift really opens up the doors to see the buyers.
Cory, maybe you send me the link later and I will put it on the recording. You said something about RBP, which I wanted to talk. I know about it, and I think it's very interesting. What you're saying is you will put it on the contract, and then you will market it in the MLS, right, with an agent. Why?
Yes.
One question: why do you do that? Second, why not the seller will do it?
Well, the seller is not going to do it because they don't want to take the time and effort to do it. So, that it's going to take time and effort. They want a quick solution, right? They want a quick solution in order to make this pain of a property that they're dealing with. It might be like an albatross for them to just go away. And so we position where we can say, hey, here's our fast cash offer price of X. This is the fastest way to close. Because it's cash, we are going to be able to move as fast as possible through closing because we don't have to have a lot of red tape or hoops to jump through. However, it is a price that is discounted because of, the speed and also to get it done quickly. If that number doesn't work for them and they're asking for a $30,000, $40,000 higher offer and they just will not take anything less, and our cash offer is $30,000, $40,000 less, then we pivot over to our RBP program. We say, well, there is a other potential program that may work that we may be able to get you. Let's say in this example, they want 150 and you're at 120. Say we may be able to get you that $150,000 for that property, Rafi. However, it's in a program called Retail Buyer Program. And this program is fantastic because you get a higher offer. So people love it. So they get the amount of money that, they want higher. However, it takes sometimes maybe an extra 2 to 3 weeks to close. And sometimes that just doesn't work for people that we talk to. They need to sell, the property yesterday. And I totally understand that. But if you have a little bit of time and you're willing to be patient and close 2 to 3 weeks later than what our fast cash offer close would be, that is a potential that we could see if your house does qualify for our retail buyer program. So would that even be something that you would consider if we could get you 150, Rafi, but you'd have to wait maybe 2 to 3 weeks longer to close?
So again, why won't he will do it by himself with an agent? What is
because it's more than just listing with an agent. It is, we handle all of the phone calls. We handle all of the back and forth creative part of putting the deal under contract. We handle all of what the buyer's needs are and creative ways to get that for them. We're going to also pay for all the repairs. The buyer, if they did work with an agent, they're going to have to pay for the repairs. Okay. And we'll even tell them too that, hey, if you want to do this program, because we're working with the real estate agent, we're actually going to be having the property on the MLS and on the open market. We take all the phone calls, but if you want to do this yourself, Rafi, you're probably going to spend anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000, maybe a little bit more, or maybe a little bit less, but to fix up the property. And so in this program, the great thing is you don't spend anything. We pay for all of it. And then you got commissions that you have to work with on agents, and then you've got concessions, and then so we build up all the potential fees or what it looks like, and they have to they did this themselves. They have to handle all that, or they have to know how to facilitate all of that and get it done. So, or they can just work with us. We make it fast. We handle everything.
You find a buyer, and you put you find a buyer that will renovate the house, or you will renovate and he will buy turnkey.
We will look at the property. If the property we think qualifies for the retail buyer program, there's a couple of ways that we would say it does, it doesn't. We will then list the property on the MLS with the owner's permission through an attorney-in-fact agreement. And then from there, we will vet out different buyers that come through. And the buyers may say, hey, I'm getting a VA loan. And so a VA loan, a government loan, we know that they're going to do an inspection and a full-blown appraisal. And so we're thinking about the items that need to get completed in order to get that loan to go through. That's the items that we're thinking about that we're going to have to complete. And that might be, an AC repair, a water leak, a flooring thing, a paint scraping, whatever it is, but they'll come up with a list of things that need to be done. And then from there, we'll get contractors to agree to get paid at closing by doing this labor. Now, there is a potential risk that if you don't close for whatever reason, which we really vet our buyers very, very good. It isn't like we're just taking a buyer that says they want to buy this. We want to find out if they're getting a loan, how far they are in the process, have they already been pre-qualified. We talk to the broker themselves. We talk to the broker.
The bank will, but the bank will close only after it's been renovated.
The bank actually, that's not accurate. So we found that these VA, FHA, USDA loans, they need some of them will want the repair to be done before they close, but we'll still get contractors paid at closing. So we can take out that money from the proceeds effectively and pay the contractors. That makes sense. And we can also sell the property for a much higher price than we could if we were just selling to a cash investor.
Got it. It's smart. It's actually smart. It's like when you buy a house that needs renovation, renovate it, create it like a turnkey, and then sell it to a retail buyer.
Yes.
But you are doing it without really buying the house.
That's correct. We're doing it by wholesaling to a retail buyer, which you can't do that because you break the chain of title if you wholesale a property to someone that needs a loan. The lender wants to see the title not break. In other words, ownership of that title, right, by not breaking for 60 to 90 days typically. So typically that's too long. If you're wholesaling, I call it hot potato business. You get the hot potato, you want to get rid of the hot potato as soon as possible. And, so 60, 90 days doesn't usually work in that regard. So these retail deals usually take 30 to 45 days to finish out.
I got to tell you, I've been doing real estate in the States for so long. Every time I find another niche, it's crazy how many options there are to make money in real estate in the States. Only in the US. It's you can't see that anywhere. It's like so creative, and it's very cool. Tell me something. If somebody want to do this approach, does it need to be a wholesaler already doing wholesaling in order to do the RBP, or he can learn to be wholesaler and do this strategy at the same time? You understand? I think my English wasn't that good at that sentence, but what I mean is, do I need to learn wholesaling and then I can add this RBP, or I can learn wholesaling and the RBP at the same time?
Oh no, you can learn wholesaling RBP at the same time. Wholesaling, I mean, this is really in my opinion, wholesaling, the next level, because wholesaling is designed. It was designed by selling to cash buyers, and it was very difficult for someone to figure out how to break that option. And so once we started to work with our attorneys and general counsel and of title companies and things to figure out what it is that we needed to do, what do they need? First off, we said, what do you need to feel comfortable to issue title insurance? Which in the States, whenever buyers get properties, they want title insurance. So, what is it? What do you need? And so we started to really understand the very granular what it is that's most important to title companies. And then we started to realize, wow, these title companies aren't even anything. They're just like a front. They're like a front for these insurance companies. And these big carriers like Old Republic and things like that. And they're the ones that really, or if there's E&O, a lot of these title companies will just have a big, nice front name, and then they just have E&O insurance, and it's just, they just charge these fees, but it's like a third party. They're just a third party intermediary that charges these fees. But at the end of the day, it's also, they make things convenient. They make people feel comfortable. There's a level of, it's done right when you do it through a title company. So we focus on those things as well. And we have relationships with national title companies that work with us on these programs. Empora Title is a great one. Blueprint Title we've worked with before. Clothesline Title we do a lot of stuff with. And these companies, they close all over these different states. So we usually let them know about our process on RBP, because it is a little different on how you actually go through the process. But once you realize it, like anything else, you're like, you realize, that's how it's different. That's why somebody would do that. That's why someone would sign that. It makes sense now. And then once you start to do it more, it's like riding a bike. It just gets easier.
Yeah. If somebody wants to learn from you how to do it, you have a program, right?
I do. Yeah. So it's shut down right now. Shut down right now. Our RBP program is shut down. We opened it up last month, I believe. And we had a lot of new folks that joined, and that's been great. But we had to shut it down because I didn't want to take on. I also have a JV program that I offer in there. I'll put this link in here too. But we have a program that we wanted to take on 100 people. So the first time this is the second time we opened it up. This is the second time. So the first time we took on 100 people, we wanted to get all these testimonials. So we got awesome testimonials now for people that went through the program, made a lot of money. Even one guy went through a program, Rafi, had made over $1 million. Oh my God. $1 million freaking dollars by doing RBP. One of my business associates that we do JV stuff together, and actually a guy that does worked with me on this project, Sean Terry, his whole company pivoted to majority of their deals being RBP, because you can make more money by doing RBP because you're able to sell your wholesale deals on the MLS, which is ultimately where 95% of all the people go to buy and sell real estate. So it really is a game changer.
I agree. Last question I think that I have, what do you think about the market? The market is kind of in a situation where the rate is high, not a lot of inventory, right? So it's kind of and unemployment is very good at the moment, right? So what do you think? You've seen a crash once.
I think the rates are going to come down. We just the yesterday the rates stayed the same, so they didn't raise them again, but they alluded that they may go up. But I talked to different bankers, and they think that the rates will come down in the next 6 months or so. Right now the rates are high, and so cash buyers have to buy stuff cheaper. But the cool thing about our business is that we're bringing inventory, right? That's what's cool, is that we're finding deals that aren't on the market and we're putting them on the market. Yeah. And, you know, so that's pretty cool with wholesalers. So obviously if you're bringing a deal that isn't there, that's going to be pretty valuable for you. And in terms of being able to sell that asset for a price that you know that you're happy with, or everyone's happy with in the transaction, it's not that difficult to do it, but you have to have some tools. You know, you have to have some tools to do it. And I would say that selling to cash buyers is the wrong exit right now. And you're not going to be able to really be that profitable if you do that. RBP has been able to significantly increase our profit spreads and our revenue. And, you know, that's what I'd recommend if you're doing wholesaling right now, to sell to retail buyers.
And how do you find those buyers in the RBP? What is the strategy? It's like finding people that have already loan, how do you say it, approved by the bank?
You know, it's great. You're talking about the buyers for the RBP, but the sellers for the RBP, the cool thing is that we have this calculator. It's the RBP calculator. And I can show you, I can send you the link to the RBP calculator. It's really cool. It basically shows you what you're able to pay for a property. And you'd be surprised on how much more money that you could actually give a seller if they're going to go RBP versus
I like it. Yeah.
a traditional route. Because you know, at the end of the day, you know, at the end of the day, the seller is these types of properties. I'll say it this way: these type of properties, not all properties are going to qualify for RBP.
Yeah, you need the repairs, but not a lot of repairs.
Yeah, yes. I don't want to have more than like $15,000-$20,000 in repairs.
Yeah.
And you know, that's really going to make a big difference for sure. And once you're able to, you know, to do that, once you find a property that will qualify, then you realize, like, wow, this is what we call three different categories: a pretty, yucky, and scary house. Okay. So RBP is going to be typically your pretty and maybe a step above yucky house. It's not going to be your scary house and needing all those repairs. You're thinking about, what will this house qualify for a loan? Let me just say it that way. Will the house qualify for a loan? And if it does, you know, if it does, and people can make, you can make a free account here. So all they have to do is just go in and make a free account. But if this house will qualify for a loan, then there's a potential it could be a good RBP property. And the good thing is a lot of wholesalers, Robbie, they're looking at deals where it's like a $200,000 house. They're going to take that 70 times 70% of that, which is 140. Then they're going to say how much repairs are needed. They're going to usually look at a $15 to $20 per square foot number for repairs. So let's say it's 1,000 square foot. That's $20,000 coming off that. So you go from 140, now you're going down to 120. And then how much profit do you want to make? You want to make $15,000. Now you're taking another 15 off that. Now you're at 105. So they got to buy that house for $105,000. That's worth $200,000, right? Because that's the only way that they can make $15,000 selling it to, quote, cash buyer for 120. Follow me?
Yeah.
Right. RBP, you come in and you see that typically you're going to sell a $200,000 house for 85%. You're going to sell a $200,000 house for 85%. So everything under that number is something that you start to consider that could be a profit potential. And now there's expenses that you got to look at. There's concessions, there's all the other stuff, but effectively you're able to pay about 15 to 20% more for a property than you are in a cash wholesale.
I like it. All right. It's Cory, it's an inspiring story you have, and I gotta say, you are besides you're a good person and very friendly. You know a lot of people, and everybody, I've talked about people about you, and everybody said you're a great guy. But beside that, you are very creative, and it's amazing, right? Every time you find a niche, and you are mastering that niche, and it's amazing to see that. And it's about looking at supply and demand. Real estate is supply and demand, and you see where the gap is and what not everybody's looking at, and you are able to see that, and that's amazing. Everybody here are thanking you. Some in English, some in Hebrew. You can write down, guys. Everybody on the chat. How was the webinar for you? How was the podcast for you? But it was really good, man.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate everyone that is listening, and I hope I added some value to your life. And I know that I can't even imagine some of the things that some of you maybe are experiencing across the pond there, and all the situation that's going on with this war and all the stuff. And, my encouragement to you is don't stop, just do your very, very best to remember that you have two choices. You can flex or fold, and remember the voice of God's always telling you to flex.
Yeah, go forward. Thank you very much, Cory. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Rafi. I appreciate you a bunch, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye, everybody. That was inspiring. Everybody says it was inspiring. That's good.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.